And welcome back, everyone, to the box office report today on the 26th, the Memorial Day weekend of 2024. Did not get this right. This is man. Okay, let's just get into it right now. Furiosa, Mad Max Saga debut with $25.5 million. Now, we still got the Memorial Day numbers coming in for tomorrow. This is not the Memorial Day numbers, but $25.5 million. Garfield comes in at number 2 at $24.7 million. If Manor 16.1, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Manor 13.3, and The Fall Guy rounds out the top 5 with 5.9. Furiosa, Mad Max Saga only made $25.5 million this weekend. Worldwide, a $58 million film. I think I checked. Yeah, I remember checking. It was like a $160 million budget. You're looking at it, probably has to hit like 320. This is not a good weekend. They were expecting the 3-day weekend to be 40 million. I'm getting the Rotten Tomatoes right now so I can reference things. They're expecting it to be about 40 million from what I heard. This is not going to be 40 million. This is not going to even be making the relatively low number that movie made. Like, the question simply is, what happened here? Because Furiosa has an 89% from the critics. All right, Garfield's got 37, but that's a kid's film. You don't necessarily need as much of a high level for a kid's film to do well. For the films like this, though, you need a lot of and 91% of the audience, 91% verified rating, 91% of the audience liked the film. Minimum liked it. So the question, this is another Fall Guy. This is even worse than the Fall Guy numbers, though. This is another Fall Guy. The question is, what the hell happened? Now, I say that, but I don't know what the international rollout for this film is going to be. Let's look at Mad Max Fury Road real quick. Let me get another tab open here real quick. Let's look at Mad Max Fury Road, what that ultimately did worldwide. And then that can give us an idea of what this one could do. So let's see. Mad Max. It's it's a mad world. Mad Max Fury Road. There we go. Fury Road. What did that one do? 226 million internationally. All right. Let's hold for a second then. There's certainly hope. That tells me that there has not been the full international rollout yet, which that's good. But what did the other one open up on? Opening weekend of 45 million. Not factoring the Memorial Day 3-day, which wouldn't factor. This opened to almost 50% less. So what happened? I saw the movie. I gave it a review. I liked it. I thought it was really good. I had some issues, but nothing that really, I think, ruined the experience. It was a really good movie. What went wrong here? I have two theories. Actually, I'll have three theories. The third less theory among all of them is the same theory I had with things like Fall Guy, with Ministry, with a couple other films that came out. I think we just saw the trailer too much. I think the trailer... Now, great, we had two different trailers, mind you, but I think it just turned people off of it. There's a point with your marketing where you're doing too much. There's a point with your marketing where you're doing too much. And what I mean by that is, it's one thing to be showing us multiple things over the course of of your marketing promotion. You got your trailer 1, your trailer 2, a couple clips. Right now, Deadpool and Wolverine is killing it with their marketing. I mean, killing it with just some of those commercials. But if you're just showing us a trailer attached to everything, you're eventually going to turn some people off to wanting to go see that film. So that's one theory I have. But the other two theories are tied together. I don't think anyone cares about the Mad Max franchise anymore. I don't think anyone cares about the Mad Max franchise because it's 2024. The last one came out 2015. It came out nearly a decade ago. The time to move forward on the Mad Max sequel wasn't like the immediate year afterwards, but it was within the 5 years after Fury Road. That's because they've been talking about doing this film for forever, and it took forever. But it doesn't really matter if the audience loses it when you make it, if the audience has lost interest. And I think that, and I'm speculating here. I don't have the exact answer. I think, honestly, that's what did it. I think there just wasn't any interest in this movie. Not from like the mainstream audience or anything like that. My dad didn't have a strong interest in it. He hasn't seen Fury Road. And Fury Road didn't light up the box office. Again, look at that number, 380, made on a 350 budget. I mean, I think it was like $100 million in marketing, if not a little less. So it did make money. It did make money. It just didn't. It wasn't like a $500, $600, $700+ million film. So you're already dealing with a franchise that isn't like a blockbuster franchise, not a billion-dollar franchise, not even like a high hundreds of millions dollar franchise, like low to mid. Then you're dealing with almost a decade worth of time in between. I think people just don't care about this franchise now. I don't think they care, which sucks because it's a really, really good movie. Not amazing. It might be in my top 10. I'll have to wait and see other films coming out, but it's still a really good one. We'll have to wait and see if, obviously, what I saw with the Fury Road, if the international can really save this movie's ass. Also, to be fair, this film isn't going to have a lot of direct competition. Yeah, Bad Boys Ride or Die is going to be coming out. Let me get the schedule. Ride or Die is going to be coming out not this week, but the following week. And that would compete on some level because it's an action film. It competes, I think, more with Fall Guy than anything else. And then Inside Out 2 comes out the fall. But so it's going to have a couple weeks to hopefully recoup some of its loss. But, this is not a good start. Not a good start at all. And let me just quickly confirm real quick. Mad Max. Sorry, I want Furiosa. Furiosa. Oh, I have Furiosa! The most vengeful of all of God's angels. Yeah, 168. That's the budget on this. Oh boy. Okay. I don't really need the Rotten Tomatoes for anything else. I'll keep the other one tab up though. But oh yeah. Okay. So Garfield. Now Garfield's very interesting. 24.7 million. Not great, but evidently the film had already made like 49 million in advanced screenings prior to its domestic release. And the film was made on only about a $60 million budget, if I remember correctly. Garfield, what's a Garfield budget? Garfield the movie. Budget. 24. Let's make sure I get the right one here. Budget. I believe it's about 60 million. It reported to be on 60 million, which means... No, can't be. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's 60 million. You know this was not a heavily marketed film. It had like 2 trailers, like 1 or 2 clips. That's it. So you're looking at a film probably on only about 40 million. If this film hits $150, it breaks even, no problem. It breaks even, no problem. And it's domestically didn't open that strong, but on a $60 million on a $60 million budget, 24 is actually not bad. That's over a third, close to a half. And it's got the Memorial Day weekend to come in, too. So, unlike, say, something like Furiosa, which is just made on such a budget, which, to be fair, I can understand why this film had such a high budget, 168. I get that. The amount of practical makes sense. But 98 million, look, again, at best, it probably only has to hit what? Actually, on 40 million, 90, it doesn't even have to hit $150, probably. It probably has to hit more like $140. If I do the math real quick in my head here, 90 million is what I'm going to... Well, no, I'm guessing it's about 40 million in marketing, probably. So, yeah, you're looking at about 150. But it's on its way to do that. It's not going to have any competition until Inside Out 2 comes out. Inside Out 2 apparently is striking for a huge weekend. Like a possible $100+ million weekend. Now, as some of you, especially the one viewer who wants me to see the animated stuff, is probably aware, I don't have a review up for Garfield. Because this is a slow week coming up this week, I'll be catching Garfield this week. So don't worry about that for those of you who want me to review Garfield. I will get to it. So the question is, why? I mean, they barely did any difference. So why is Garfield probably going to do better than Furiosa? Well, the big 2 reasons. 1, family film. We haven't had a new animated family film since Kung Fu Panda. So that's filling in a niche that needs to be filled. 2, $60 million budget. Take notes, Hollywood. While some films definitely deserve that extra, $50 million or whatever, deserve that $100+ million budget, you don't have to do it all the time. And even with that, like, look, watching Furiosa, could I have seen ways to cut cost or just, not need as much money? Probably. They could have probably done that on more like 130 or 40. It's still definitely $100 million budget. I don't argue that. But minimum. But 130 or 40, that's more doable. Kingdom of Planet of the Apes was one I definitely saw the price tag on there. Same with Godzilla. Same with Dune. But then Ministry of Ungentle Warfare, I'm like, what, did it have to be 60 million? I don't think it needed to be 60 million. Fall Guy, I mean, the amount of stunts going on in that movie, I don't think it needed to be 135 million. Anything else here that I don't think? If there's another one. If is probably going to be. So I'll check if in just a second. I haven't actually looked at these. I think I mentioned, but I haven't. If didn't need to be, I think 130 million. You could have done this probably on 80, and of course a lot of it was probably paychecks. So yeah, Hollywood needs to, and probably. Oh, that's Babes. That's it, Barbie. Apparently, Hollywood just doesn't seem to know how to pull back. So let's look at If. If made 16.1, dropping 52% this weekend, which is a good drop. It's worldwide at 103. All right, and the international went up a bit. All right. It's not dead. It's not dead. It also probably doesn't have a big marketing budget, like I said. So because If was one of those movies we saw only slight variations of the first trailer. So their marketing campaign, I'd be willing to bet, was probably only like $50 million to $60 million at best. So you're looking at a film that really has to hit probably in the neighborhood of against 130 for its budget. Not even 300 million. Now this is still not good trajectory right now. Up is good, but the amount of up it's doing is not good. It should already be like to 190 or something to even have a chance to be breaking even. So sadly for Paramount this year, this is not going to be a case of how much money If makes. It's going to be about a case of how much money can If not lose. Now, again, why do I think this film didn't attract the audience for its opening weekend? Again, If was another one where I basically said that we kept just seeing the same damn trailer and only a slight variation of it. So I think that played a factor. But I also think it looked like a film. I think streaming hurt it here because... And I keep saying this over and over again, but it's still the points of when we see films not doing well, it's important to understand what the problem is so we can maybe try to fix it. So first off, this was an original film. It's like, no, it's not. We've seen this. It was an original film. It's not based on anything. By the way, for the people who argue there's no original films and then say something like this is not an original film, understand what the freaking concept of original is. It's not based on an existing IP of any kind. It is its own thing. All stories get repeated over history. We're just seeing different variations of them. So this is an original damn movie that, from a big studio, mind you, that's another thing people bring up. Because we got more original content coming out now than ever. It's just a lot of the studios don't bank on original content because you assholes don't go to support it. And I'm not directing it to anyone actually watching the video. I'm directing it to the general public and those whiny ass babies who said there's nothing original, I have no ideas. Did you go out to see this film? Well, no. Did you go out to see this film? No. They're not based on anything. They were completely original ideas. Well, no. The story's been done over and over and over again. Still doesn't mean it's not original and a different take. You just like to complain. I went off there for a second, but this is one of the reasons movies suffer right now. Because people don't go out to support it. Now, granted, if it didn't look good to you and you didn't want to see it, I can understand that. But, yeah, like this was a family-friendly film. It had some good stuff for the parents as well. It had both childlike wonder but maturity for everyone. Like, look, say whatever the critics say, like the critics didn't like this movie very much. It's a little under 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. But the audiences seem to like it. So, I say all this because I think streaming is hurting the movies like this because unlike something that's a kind of must-see like Inside Out 2, like a Deadpool Wolverine, can I think of anyone? Hell, I'll even go Bad Boys on it, like a Beetlejuice or Wicked. Those films coming out later this year. No, unlike films like that, or those, it didn't look like something you had to rush out to see. Same kind of with Fall Guy. But because of that, with a 45-day release window instead of the original 90, which again, I still say 60 is the perfect middle ground, 2 months, good. People can now just say, well, I'll just wait for that to come on streaming. And sucks. That just sucks, because that's killing the theater going experience. My theater right now is at risk of possibly going away, my local one. Not because of anything, it's not necessarily bringing in people, but because the people who own the mall it's in are trying to sell it, which I'm not going to go into a rant about that. I'm just going to say the people who own that mall are asshats, and they're stupid, and they don't understand why that's stupid to sell the location. At least because they want to convert it into housing. I'm like, you have a Target, a Cinemark, and a Planet Fitness that all draw in revenue. You take that away, you are going to be pissing off a lot of people in that community. So have fun explaining that. But I digress. Because then my next closest local theater, one is are about the same distance from me, about 45 minutes. And to be fair, a lot of people don't live 20 minutes from a theater. I get that. I'm kind of spoiled. But at the same time, that kind of makes it a focal point of the community for entertainment. So, yeah. But this is why theaters kind of go close, because people don't go out to see the movies, at least not every movie, especially movies that theoretically deserve it. If, at least in my opinion, deserved it. I don't know. I'm going up. I'm only on the third spot today. So let's keep going on to movies that aren't doing badly. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, $13.3 million. It's almost at $300 million. And again, with Memorial Day coming tomorrow, it will probably cross the $300 million dollar marker, which is good. I believe, though, I had said this film has to make 390-ish to break even. That's still going to be difficult. It's clear that this film is now running out of gas, because it was at 240 something last week, so it only gained about 50 some odd million this week. So for it to make its money back, it's going to be tight. It is going to be tight, but it's not impossible. Like with Garfield, like with Mad Max, first off, we have a blank weekend this weekend, so that's good. No big releases. The only other thing coming out is Bad Boys, and then you have another big one with Inside Out 2. So it's going to be tight, but it's not impossible for this film to make its money back, at least, which is good. And maybe I'm wrong on that marketing budget. Maybe it is less, so maybe it needs to make less. We'll see what happens. But this does at least show you that there was an interest in this film, that people did go back to see it and are still going back to see it. So I'm glad the film is getting, good reception, and it's at least making almost close to making its money back. It's less than $100 million away. Can the film do $100 million more? It can't do it domestically. Those numbers are not in the cards. But another $30 million domestic is not impossible, which just leaves the idea of, can it make another, I guess then, we're looking at 92, so another, 62 million? We'll have to wait and see. I'm hoping it can do well, because I'd like to see a continuation of this film franchise. The Fall Guy made a $5.9 million, another film that just isn't doing that well. $145 million against a $135 budget. Oh man, that's just sad. This film deserved so much more love than what it got. So much more love. Again, based on the existing IP, yes, but by all accounts, even if it's based on the existing IP, it's still a concept you really haven't seen in theaters, so it's original enough. Also, it's an action comedy. Are people just not down for action comedies? Seriously, do people not like Ryan Gosling or Emily Blunt anymore? Everyone who saw it liked it. You look at the verified audience score, people actually gave their opinion about what they saw. People liked it a lot. It has an 80-some-odd% at least. And the critics liked it too. So just with Furiosa and Mad Max, it's a film that everyone was unanimous on, but no one went out to see. And again, I've said my piece now at this point, what I think went wrong here. But it sucks. Fun fact, though, we would already have Wolverine and Deadpool out at this point had the actor and writer strikes not happened. So just fun fact. Maybe that played a factor in some of this. Maybe there's a boycotting factor, where people think that they're helping the cinema by boycotting them until, whatever. But I hate to tell you this. Anyone who boycotts going to the theater to try to protest is actually just hurting the theater industry more, because now they're making less money because you're not going out to support the movies you want to see, but don't want to support big Hollywood and all that. So that is actually very counterintuitive, to boycott the theater experience, to try to save the theater experience, and then the theater closes, and whose fault is it after that? Legit, I mean, to be fair, there's blame on all sides, but legit, you play a part in that. That's what I'm saying. So let's talk about at least something that looks like it's doing okay. In its second week, The Strangers actually didn't do bad. I actually thought it was going to do pretty bad its second week, but it didn't do bad. 5.6 million. Driving 52.6%. It's made at only about like 6 or 8 million. And so, like I think I said previously, it just has to hit about 30 and it'll be fine, which it looks like it'll do it. Lionsgate needs some wins. It's not going to be a very big win. Which begs the question, actually, why do we think horror has been failing? I think I brought this up last week, but it's bears repeating. Why do we think horror is not doing well at the box office this year? Blumhouse has put out Imaginary and it's put out Night Swim. Ironically, Night Swim was it's still going to be on my worst list. Very few have topped Night Swim in terms of how bad it is. But it still made more money than Imaginary. Then you had Abigail, The First Omen, and in no particular order. And I think there was like one other thing that came out too. And now you have The Strangers Pray at Night, or Chapter 1. None of them are doing all that well. Like, this is not horror's year. So what is going on with the genre of horror this year, I wonder? There's a few answers we could go towards. One, it's not... People are maybe just kind of done with horror. Like, they're not in the mood to be, like, going and getting scared now. And again, I can't speak for everyone, just generals. Two, a lot of these are kind of niche franchises to some degree. Like, Imaginary was original, Night Swim was original, but Omen? Who cared about and that's another thing, too. Strangers Chapter 1 and The Omen are prequels. And I think that might be another issue with Furiosa, is that it's a prequel. And I don't think a lot of people give a shit about prequels. I legitimately don't think, because, I mean, what was the last prequel that came out that I can think even did remotely well? Hunger Games, Battle of the Songbirds and Snakes made 300 plus million, but it barely made any money. And then I would have to stress past that on another prequel that came out. I actually think there's a stigma on prequels. I think, at least I know, I don't care a lot about what happened before, because I know what ultimately happens down the road. Now, it's something that's removed from like the source material from hundreds and hundreds of years. That's one thing. But when you're only removed a couple decades from each other, that doesn't work for me. Because like Songbirds and Snakes is only decades removed. Whereas something like this new Star Wars story, The Acolyte, coming out, is a couple hundred years removed. So that's enough distance to actually, do something. Strangers is like, all right, would this happen maybe a couple days? We don't know. As far as we can tell, it probably happened a few days or whatever. So, yeah, I think at least with some of these films, I think prequels are the problem. I don't think people give a damn about prequels. They don't want to see what happened before. They want to see what happens next. And so I think a prequel still might, and now to be fair, you can say that Garfield's a prequel. Well, Garfield A didn't do that well at the box office domestically, but a prequel to what? That's the thing. Like, it's a prequel maybe, but a prequel to what? There is no existing animated Garfield movie right now that's in that universe. So yeah, I think that might be a problem that's going on here. We need to stop doing so many goddamn prequels. We'll see what happens. Sight. Is this, when a blind orphan arrives in his waiting room seeking a miracle, a world-renowned eye surgeon must confront her past and draw on the resilience he gained growing up in China during the Cultural Revolution to try to restore her sight. Cool. Awesome. This was not going to be, and now they're Angel Studios as well. All right, well, good for you. It's another film that's not going to be doing a lot at the box office. Challengers made our 1.3 million. Worldwide right now, it's 81 million. Did not make its money back. We've gone over it forever at this point. We've gone over it. Back to Black, the Amy Winehouse biopic. I still didn't do well based on the amount it's made on. Babes. What the hell's Babes? Lifelong friends, Eden, Eden and Dawn, one single, one wanting mother, the other's already a mother. Navigating challenges to bond when Eden pursues pregnancy alone after a one-night stand. Why am I saying it like this? Well, who knows? It's a comedy that I didn't even know was out. Then, let's see, we got Tarot, made her $750,000. It made money. Tarot went on to make some money. Good for Tarot. Finally, a horror film. That was not a horror film that came out. Finally, a horror film that is not doing badly. All right. Went on to make a nice little chunk of change. Great. Godzilla vs. Kong, New Empire, $595. Oh, no. I said this week it would make about $1 million at the domestic. I clearly was wrong. I clearly was wrong. Again, especially because it's on digital. But it's literally, oh my God, it's literally $4 million away. 4 million away. Oh, man, that's just so cold. So cold. But again, we'll wait to see what tomorrow and next week brings before I give my final answer on that. And it's only in 664 screens. Okay, never mind. I'm going to give my final answer now. It's not making its money back. Unless there's like one more international push. Let me rephrase it. It's not breaking the record. Sorry, not making its money back. It's not breaking the record. I saw the TV glow. There's a trailer. It's playing at my Cinemark, but I don't really care about seeing it that much. Then Ghostbusters. Hey, cross 200. You still lost money. You still lost a chunk of money. There's not much else to say. Kung Fu Panda, $250,000. It's done. Abigail, $70,000. That's also on digital. I've seen more or less the movie now at this point. So yeah, it's done. So yeah, it's been kind of a sad Memorial Day weekend. I mean, the good news is if you're looking at what the box office kind of made overall, 66, 74, about 80. You're still looking at about 90 million in terms of the box office for the top 10. That's not bad. Still not bad at the box office overall. It's in the studio, and the theaters themselves are getting their cut. It's not about the theaters. It's about the studios making their money back. We take a look real quick at like what the worldwide looks like. Dune Part 2 is still the highest grossing film of the year. So far nothing has beat that. I think Inside Out 2 and definitely I think Deadpool and Wolverine, as long as it's good enough, will definitely beat that number. But Godzilla. So yeah, right now, I mean, it hasn't really changed in terms of what the box office looks like for the overall. Dune Part 2 is the #1 movie of the year so far. It's followed by Godzilla and Kong New Empire, Kung Fu Panda 4, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, Bob Marley One Love, The Beekeeper, The Fall Guy, Civil War, and Mean Girls. There's your top 10 for the time being. And it's going to be a little bit before we see any big differences. If Will, though, take the number 10 spot from Mean Girls, and probably will also take away the Civil War spot, and probably even fall. I want to say this. I think it can at least hit in the number 6 spot right now. So we'll see what happens. But in terms of what I think the box office will look like next week, that's a good question, because even though Garfield's got far worse reviews, it is still a family film. It's still a kid's film. Furiosa's got good reviews, but it's also long, and again, I think prequelitis is a problem. So, and it's barely higher than Garfield. So either one of these could take it next week. I think, therefore I am, that we're going to actually see the flip. Even though I predicted Garfield first this week, I'm going to go Garfield first next week, then Mad Max. Then, the drop-offs are roughly similar. I mean, about 5% difference. But because there's a almost 3 million difference, I'm going to still go If. Then I'm going to still go Kingdom. And then Fall Guy. Fall Guy's taking better drops than The Strangers, definitely. So yeah, Fall Guy will definitely be number 5 again next week. So again, Garfield, Mad Max, Furiosa, If, Kingdom, and Fall Guy. The only difference I'm going to see is that number 2 and number 1 swap. But that was the box office this weekend. Let me know what you think. Happy Memorial Day. I'll see you for the next one.